This week on Fantasy Football Reporters, we actually took a week off last week for
little vacation.
Little vacay for the holiday. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you guys did good in your fantasy football week 12. So we're going to move right into it. We have the Fantasy Football Reporters Stat Challenge this week. We're giving away a Ray Rice rookie card, College to the Pros.
Right there, check it out.
We want Ray Rice's stat line, rushes, yards, touchdowns.
Rushing touchdowns,
Excuse me. Rushing yards.
Total yards for the Ravens offense will be the
Ravens
tiebreaker in case it's a tie. It's only happened once, but just in case.
Just in case, Ray Rice this week. Good luck to you, Ray Rice, because you're on my team, and I think you're good. I'm playing this guy right here.
For the second time.
For the second time this year. Moving right into it, we're going to get to the Week 12 update. Pass it over to Hammer and Hank.
All right, starting with QBs, we have Tom Brady makes the list again. Throws for 4 touchdowns, 341 yards on Thanksgiving in Detroit. So that was a good day for us. Hopefully it was for you too. Bless you.
Thank you.
Aaron Rodgers throws for 344 yards. Runs for 51 yards on 12 carries, which was kind of weird.
Same.
And he does get a rushing touchdown and a throwing touchdown.
They wouldn't give it to Brandon Jackson on the 1 yard line. They refused to give it to him.
Aaron Rodgers, he did have a fumble on the 1 yard line too, Aaron Rodgers, so that would have been his third touchdown. But and then we have Matt Castle throwing for only 233, but he got the 4 touchdowns, 3 to Dwayne Bowe. We'll talk about him later.
Oh, yeah.
Peyton Hillis, huge stat line, 131 on the ground, 63 through the air, and 3 TDs on the ground. Jamal Charles gets 173 and a score, and we had Rashad Mendenhall gets 36 carries, 151 yards, and he gets a touchdown. Moving on to the wide receivers, we had Dwayne Bowe, like I said before. He had 3 touchdowns, and he had 170 yards on 13 receptions. We had Ben Obamanu.
Who's your mama?
Yeah, 5 for 159 in a score. We had Jacoby Ford, had 108 yards receiving. He had a receiving touchdown. He also had a return touchdown.
105.
So if you get points for that, then not many people had him in, but he had a great week for you. Tight ends really quick. Billy Bajima, 2 touchdowns. We had Todd Heap and Kevin Boss both going for 70 yards plus, and they had a touchdown each. Kickers really quick. Nate Kading, 5 field goals, 1 for over 50 yards. If you had San Diego's defense, they had 2 touchdowns for you, 4 interceptions, a sack, and a fumble recovery. And Houston holds the Tennessee Titans to a shutout. I'm going to pass it back to Frank now for the bus from Week 12.
I played about 3 or 4 of those guys this week.
Peyton Hillis, you played him.
No, I played Dwayne Bowe. I played Rashad Mendenhall, and one of the other receivers that went nuts this week. And of course, I lost. It was a tough week. But anyways, moving on to the bus. Vincent Jackson, his return. I don't know if he faked an injury or what, but his first game back, miraculously, his calf hurts. No catches if you started him, sorry. Chris Johnson, my first overall pick, and everybody else's. 7 rushes for 5 yards. Unbelievable. 2 catches for 2 yards. 9 total touches, 7 total yards. Unbelievable. I don't know why the coach isn't giving him the ball more when you have the third-string quarterback and you got injuries everywhere. But 9 touches for the best running back in the league is just insane for Jeff Fisher. I don't know what you're thinking about. Roddy White had his first kind of mediocre day. I mean, he still was all right. 5 catches, 49 yards. But for Roddy White, he's been going insane this year. He had a tough week. Brett Favre, his first game without a turnover the entire year is the plus. But he only had 172 total yards, no touches. But again, no turnovers, so in that regard, it's good for the team because they won, but not good for your fantasy team. T.O., 3 catches, 17 yards, terrible day. Carson Palmer in that same game, 135 yards, 1 touchdown with 2 picks, pretty terrible. He's been so up and down this year. Anquan Bolden, who killed me this week, 3 catches, 27 yards. I don't know what he's been doing lately. Deshaun Jackson, 2 for 26, killed this kid this week. Tim Hightower, I don't know what's going on in Arizona, 5 rushes, 0 yards. He could be one of the busts of the year. I really don't know, but a lot of people took him high. He had a ton of touchdowns last year.
Him and Beanie Wells were taken relatively high.
It was terrible. This is Tim Hightower. Terrible. Pass it back to Sean for some injury updates.
All right, a couple of tough injuries, especially for me, since I own him in 2 leagues. Frank Gore, fractured hip. They put him on injured reserve today. And that's after he had 5 carries against Arizona for over 50 yards, averaging over 10 yards a carry, fractures his hip. His year is done. Sorry for you. Me, and sorry for all you owners out there. Ben Roethlisberger, he's walking in a boot, they said Monday and Tuesday. But Mike Tomlin, the head coach, expects him to play. So, check out his practicing status, especially on Friday, Saturday, and make sure he's good for Sunday. Adrian Peterson had an MRI on his right ankle today, and it just showed a sprain, so that's good for any owners out there. Matt Stafford said he's ready for some light throwing. He's probably going to be throwing on the sideline in practice this week, so you want to monitor his status. Doubt he'll play on Sunday, but things are looking up for maybe the playoffs if you still own him and you're moving into the playoffs. Then we have Mike Williams from Seattle. He wasn't in practice today, and he's still questionable for next week, so check him out through the week. And Joseph Adai, the owner of the Colts, said that Joseph Adai is going to need a lot more time to recover from his shoulder injury. So that's tough news for people who took him. Also, relatively high second, third round for Joseph Adai. Right now, I'll pass it back to Frank for the predictions on Week 13.
Thanks, Sean. Mike Vick and LaShawn McCoy going up against the worst pass D, Houston. I expect Vick's been good. He's been really good this year. But we expect him to have a really, really big game. And McCoy, I expect to catch a lot of balls out of the backfield this week as well. Arian Foster in that same game. Philly's D is banged up. They look terrible against Chicago. Cutler threw for 4 touchdowns, and they were getting Forte had over 100 on limited carries. It was a tough day for Philly's D, who was just injuries everywhere. So start Arian Foster and Andre Johnson, who obviously you're going to start both of them anyway, but they're going to have really big weeks. Chris Johnson, we expect a rebound. He's going up against Jacksonville, who's given up over 110 yards a game against the run. So Chris Johnson hopefully will come out with a vengeance and a chip on his shoulder after that terrible performance against Jacksonville. AP or Gerhardt, and AP is most likely going to play, but even if you have Gerhardt might see some more carries this week, and he looked pretty good in the absence. I think he had 76 yards last week for AP once AP twisted his ankle, and they're going up against Buffalo, the worst run defense in the league. We expect a lot of running, and this past week, again, Brett Favre only had 172 yards passing. They weren't passing it as much. They were focusing on the run. Felix Jones against Indy. They're very, very banged up too. They're losing players left and right. It seems like we talked about Adai, but they're banged up all over the place, including on the defensive side of the ball. And they're not that good against the run. We expect Felix Jones to definitely explode this week as well. Moving on to the busts. San Fran's offense versus Green Bay's defense, who's given up the least amount of points per game this year. We expect them to have a very tough day, especially with Frank Gore being done for the year. People are going to really focus in on making Troy Smith beat him as opposed to Frank Gore, who can't run, obviously, when he's injured. Calvin Johnson against Chicago. Chicago looked really good, again, against Mike Vick and company. Vick did go over 300, but more garbage time than anything. And
the touchdown, too, was garbage time.
Touchdown, a lucky catch by Brett Selleck in triple coverage. Yeah. So we expect Calvin Johnson to have a tough day. Plus, it looks like Sean Hill might not even play this week, and Stafford's definitely not going to be back this week. It could be Drew Stanton, the third-string quarterback this week, throwing to Calvin Johnson against a good Chicago defense, a very fast Chicago defense. So he could have a bad week. McFadden against San Diego, who looked insane against Indy, who has a very good offense, held Indy, to 20 yards rushing, I believe, for most of the game. And maybe they broke one off at the end of the game, but I think they were under 20 yards rushing for the entire game. So we expect McFadden to have a very tough go of it against San Diego. And then we got Ray Rice versus Pittsburgh, the number 1 overall rush defense in the league this year. So we expect him to have also a tough game as well. So if you have other options for these people, look at it. I mean, some of them are still must starts. Like a Calvin Johnson. Detroit could get behind. He might get some garbage time. But if you do have better options, definitely take a look at that. Moving on to our Bonehead Play of the Week.
Yes.
So, moving on to the Bonehead Play of the Week. This week's Bonehead is Cortland Finnegan. Great name. We have him in studio. How you doing, Cortland?
I'm doing, well, I'm a little banged up, as you can see.
Yeah, you look like you got some stitches or something. Yeah, what's going on here?
I'm fine, though.
Oh, all right.
I tripped on my stairs. I fell down, No, I tripped the other day.
Cortland's a cool name, too, I swear.
You like it?
I promise you it's cool. I wish I had that name, but not really. Anyways, moving on to the plays. You see here, well, if you saw the game, Cortland was trying to get under the skin of everybody, as he does every week. He's kind of a pain in the you-know-what. Yeah, that's right, Cortland. You're terrible.
I'm a good player.
Yeah, it depends who you ask. And we'll talk to Mike Ditka possibly later on that one, too. I don't know if you saw that interview. But, yeah, so looking at this play here, he was trying to get under the skin of everybody. He looks over to the sideline at some point and says, hey, watch this, guys, and to Houston, kind of egging him on. And he runs up and jams Andre Johnson almost under the chin.
Yeah, got it right in his face.
Right in his face.
Look at that.
And then he starts trying to rip his helmet off, and it gets insane. And for some reason, I don't know if you know, Andre Johnson is a lot bigger than you.
Yeah, but he's a wimp, you know. It's
I don't know.
like I said, these cuts you see on my face, they're not from the various punches that landed on my teeth.
Moving on, you see him, the helmets come flying off, and then all of a sudden, you start like keeling over like you're dying or something, and Andre Johnson's just haymaker after haymaker on your head.
I tripped over that thing right there. If you see, I tripped a little bit, and that's why he swung, but he didn't. You know, I was fine, really. I mean, if you were to look at the stats, that would be a win for me, a fight win. Like if it was hockey, I'd get the win in that fight, right?
Never. That was terrible. And your hair looks worse than anything I've ever seen. It's like a chia pet gone wrong. Like, it's terrible. Like, what's up with your hair?
Well, you know, I like to style it like that, you know. Actually, after, I have various chia pets at my house. You know, they make the Cortland Finnegan chia pet that'll be coming out for you guys this Christmas. Check it out, CortlandFinnegan.com. For my chia pet, and you know, so thanks for letting me get that plug in. But yeah,
Yeah. Cortland. All right, Cortland. Well, you obviously got beat up looking at your face, and you're a terrible human being.
I fell. I fell.
You're the bonehead
True.
play of the week, and we look forward to seeing you on some more bonehead plays of the week. So
Thanks.
yeah, you stop getting every. You know, I hope they suspend you and not Andre because you're terrible. So
Neither of them got suspended.
I know neither guy got suspended. Cortland, I hate you.
They said that Cortland Finnegan, if they could have proved that he threw a punch, I mean, he threw like the double-handed, you know, up to the chin. If he threw a punch, though, Cortland Finnegan would have got suspended because he's had other incidences like this before. But Andre Johnson, they said wouldn't have got a suspension either way, even though he threw and landed a couple of good shots to the face.
Those were some good punches, man. He was with authority.
He doesn't mess around.
With authority,
Andre
and I like
Johnson.
that, Andre.
Andre
I hope you have
Johnson's
500 yards receiving.
He got the game ball.
Yeah, he
Imagine
should
that.
get the game ball. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for the week. You got
Yeah.
anything else to add?
That's it. That's all I got.
Check out the site, fantasyfootballreporters.com. Yeah.
See you next week.
You stay classy, Cortland Finnegan.